on stardust, so shine.
Peace and blessings, family, and welcome to Labors of Love podcast. We are here to inspire, uplift, and enlighten. Each episode, we will be hearing from Black midwives, doulas, and other traditional childbirth supporters who have dedicated their lives to being of service to Black mothers and families in all aspects of the motherhood journey. Welcome to Labors of Love podcast. I'm your host, Hafeeza Ture. This evening, I have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Tina Harris. Dr. Harris is a doctor of physical therapy specializing in pelvic health, focusing on pregnant and postpartum communities, as well as a birth and bereavement doula. Dr. Tina has been practicing physical therapy since 2013 and initially worked in a variety of settings. Following the birth and unfortunate loss of her first son at 21 weeks pregnant, she listened and followed her heart's calling to seamlessly incorporate her passions and skills and created her organization, Competent Heart Perinatal Specialist. In addition, Dr. Tina is an international best-selling author of Fertility, Secrets, Struggles, and Successes. She holds certifications as a birth and bereavement doula, level 1 naturopathic and maternity Reiki practitioner, and is currently a yoga and acupressure student. As a self-proclaimed lifelong learner, Dr. Tina continues to expand her skills to combine with her talents and passions for spiritual growth, holistic wellness, pelvic health, and childbirth to guide individuals towards healing and alignment of their body, mind, and spirit, especially during the childbearing seasons of life. She loves encouraging awareness and education about the body and empowering her clientele to be active participants in their journey to healing and life in general. Thank you for joining us this evening. Welcome. Greetings, greetings, greetings. That is an amazing intro, and it really speaks to your passion for the work that you do here. So I am very pleased to introduce you to the audience. If there's anything that we missed, please definitely let us know and fill us in. Otherwise, we're just going to jump right in.
Yeah, let's jump in. That was a lot.
It was, but definitely very informative. So what was your motivation to begin doing this work? I know you mentioned in the bio that you experienced personally, a loss, and that was part of the catalyst for doing the work. But prior to becoming pregnant, and that whole your experience there, what was your awareness of, this journey of supporting mothers, or what that would be like for you? Did you see pregnant women growing up? Were you able to, support, or was that a part of your awareness coming into this?
Yeah, for sure. So, my siblings, I have two older sisters, and they're much, much older than me. So, the one above me, she's 9 years older than me, and the one above that is 12 years older than me. So, growing up, I became an auntie at 9 years old. So, basically, growing up, and they each have three kids of their own. So, seeing them go through each of their pregnancies and things like that, and I just always had this calling and this draw towards pregnancy and birth. And I remember when my first niece was born, I was probably around 12 at the time. And I was in the hospital, and I just remember being really upset that I wasn't allowed in the birth room. It was just like, well, why can't I be there? Like, that's my sister, like I want to be able to see it and, everything that's going on. And I was just really offended. So that was kind of like my first memory of like awareness of birth and wanting to be a part of, the story, be a part of the experience. And I also, if you remember that TV show, A Baby Story from that used to come on TLC,
Yeah.
as a kid, like 10 years old, I was watching that. Like I loved watching that. And so at that time I didn't really know why, but I just really enjoyed it and just kind of went with it. And so just following through the years, I didn't know what a doula was back then. It actually wasn't until I was in physical therapy school, And in physical therapy school, we had a very, very small section of women's health. It was called women's health back then. And we got to, one of our assignments was to spend like a half a day wearing the pregnancy belly to experience, what it was like being pregnant. But that was it. And I was like, well, what else is here? And so because of that lifelong learner part of my personality, I was like digging in and trying to figure out, what else is missing here. And, years and years to come, I come upon the word doula and I was like, doula, what is that? So I dug some more, studied and, researched some things. And I came to realize like the amount of support and, non-medical support that a doula is able to provide that's super essential and important during this time. And I was like, yep, that's what I want to do. At that time, I was already not a pelvic floor physical therapist. I was already a physical therapist at that point. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna be a physical therapist, but I also want a doula for when we do get pregnant. And I also want to become a doula. And so then trying to figure out and weave those two aspects of myself together. And it finally like all came together after that experience of loss and moving forward and having our rainbow baby. So we do have our rainbow baby as well. He just turned 3 last Monday. So yeah.
No, that's phenomenal, and to have that awareness coming in. So you had some of an awareness of what your options were, because of your sister's experience and kind of seeing them go through the process multiple times. And then you have a medical background, so obviously that's going to expose you to more than the average person. Because
Right.
I find that, with a lot of women, birthing people, we don't really get into it until you find out you're pregnant. Then it's like, okay, well, what is this and what's going on? It's not necessarily
Exactly.
something we already have on board. So I think that's amazing, just how you made that connection. So with your first experience, your first pregnancy, how what was your preparation, or how did you go into that, and how has that impacted how you support mothers?
So going into pregnancy, it was a surprise.
Yeah.
Um, a surprise, but not a surprise. We had stopped the birth control and all that stuff, but when it happened, I was like, "Oh, hey." And so while at that point, we were actually doing some travel work. So my husband's an RN, and we were actually out in California. And I share like all of this the story in the book, in Fertility book, and so I really deep into the whole story there. But we were out in California, and I was ready to come home,
Mhm.
and so when we did transition home, we didn't have a whole lot of time to find our providers. I hadn't even gone to an OB or midwife appointment yet, or found a doula once we got back home here in Atlanta, before I went into preterm labor, and so I knew it was something that we did want, and I was actively on the search, but hadn't quite found someone to support us just yet.
Wow. Wow. So that experience, I'm sure, definitely gives you a deeper perspective as far as the full experience that, we as women go through. I know, just to be able to have empathy for what that is. I know it's a vulnerable time and space in
Mhm.
general, just because of all of the unknowns. But to have that experience. Now, you mentioned your book. How do we get access to your book? And kind of an overview of some of the things, because you seem to share your experience very candidly.
I do, yes. So in that book is actually a collaboration. It's a multi-author book. And
Okay.
so my chapter I'm in chapter 4. So when you get it, you can go straight to chapter 4.
Yeah.
I do share my story of how basically my experience has led me onto the journey of what I do now. And so you can get the hard copy version from me from my website, which I think we'll get into later, sharing how to contact me. And I also do have the ebook version as well, which is currently on sale for holiday sales right now. So
Yeah.
you can get it from either version um, of
Excellent.
the book.
Excellent. But we definitely want the link so that we can share the link, because that gets it easier. Just click on it, it's right there. So yeah, definitely appreciate you putting that out there. So how has that shaped just the process that you went through to identify the areas? Because I know with doula trainings, you can kind of go in different directions, but so you're doing birth work, but you're also doing bereavement work. So what was kind of like that journey from, you know, working through your own process, healing from that experience, being able to share your story and assisting mothers?
Yeah, so with that birth, the birth of our first son, after the fact and, like, looking back on everything, I was like, "That support was not that
Mm,
wasn't it." And so in my mind, I determined, I was like, I wouldn't wish that on anyone."
yeah.
Having one, going through a loss in and of itself is hard, but then the support, or rather the lack thereof, of the support, from the hospital staff, I was like, "I don't want wish that on anyone." And because I already knew I wanted to go the doula route, I sought out the birth and bereavement doula, track. And so shortly after, the loss, I did maybe it was like, mm, maybe 3 months or so, I did start the certification process, but I had to stop, like, halfway and I got triggered with the grief, and it was just too much for me at the point, and I just wasn't ready, and that was back in 2017, and so I took a break, and it wasn't until, the first quarter of 2020 that I was able to finally complete it. I was like, "Okay, I've processed through it, I've done my healing." I mean, it's a lifelong journey of healing, but
Absolutely.
I really did, like, the really, really hard work and just, like, really processed through it, and at that point, our rainbow baby, he was born in 2018, and so, going through pregnancy after loss and, kind of the whole the whole thing,
Mhm.
um yes, bed rest, everything, the whole 9. So kinda going through that, processing through that as well, and then coming on to the other side and just really still having that passion within my heart, and I was like, "This is still something I really wanna do. It's not leaving me alone." So, let me revisit it, and then I was able to complete it and, really start to support families out here.
Wow, that is amazing how you can take, your experience and just continue to add value. And I'm sure that's part of your healing process as well.
For sure,
So
yeah.
that's amazing. So how is it coming from, that medical and that physical therapy background? How are you melding your services together?
Mhm. So, as a physical therapist, so I started out just like a general orthopedic physical therapist, and then again, I had always known since that half a class in PT school, I was like, "This is something that I want to do," and so I always knew I wanted to do the pelvic health realm as well. And so, although we were traveling, I would still, take continuing ed courses, all in the same realm, pregnancy related, pelvic health related, and things like that, and just really start to build my educational and my resources and things like that so that I could transition when the time was right to doing the pelvic health. And
Mhm.
so within the pelvic floor physical therapy that I do, I then now focus even more so on pregnancy and postpartum patients. So I'll see everybody,
Mhm.
but I do have that, again, that passion, that drive to see the pregnancy and the pregnant patients and the postpartum patients. And so when they're coming in, they get a little bit of doula me, and then my doula clients, they get a little bit of PT me because 'cause I'm got all the hats on.
Yeah.
You can't really take them all, so it really just kind of blends in together and, um, especially for a lot of people don't know about pelvic floor physical therapy, that we even exist or what it is, what we do. And so really being able to educate more and more people about both sides, because some people don't really know about doulas as well.
Mhm.
I get a lot of people in the clinic that come in, I'm like, "Do you have a doula?" Like, "No, what's a doula?" Or, "No, because, the world that we're in right now is like they can't be in the hospital, so we didn't think it was worth it." And with my, organization, I do all virtual services. So I'm like, "Okay, I can offer you this. I can't do a whole, doula, maybe if my calendar is booked or something like that, but I can give like a birth support, option." So I try to have a little something for everybody.
That's awesome. So just for like lay people, because you kind of mentioned it, if we
Mhm.
could go just into a little bit more detail as far as what is that, what someone who is listening, who hears, pelvic floor and what it is, what does that, how would you explain that to someone who has no clue about what that service and support looks like?
Absolutely. So pelvic floor is, basically you think about your pelvis, your hips, and the pelvic floor is the bottom of it. Okay. And so there's lots of things that happen in there. The pelvic floor is very deeply connected to our core muscles. And core, we think about, our six-pack abs and things like that, but it goes so much deeper than that. And the pelvic floor is responsible for keeping you dry. So no need for leakage, for, fertility and conception, pregnancy, birth. It's involved with bowel health as well, menstruation, and so basically anything that goes in or out of down there, as we want to call it, um, regardless of gender or or anything like that. That is what pelvic floor physical therapy will help you support, and the function of those things. And so there are a lot of myths about what proper bodily function or optimal bodily function looks like, especially when it comes to like urinary leakage. That's a big one. A lot of us think that once you get to a certain age, or if you've had a baby or two or three or 12, whatever the case may be, that it's normal and it's okay to leak urine, and that's just not the case. It may be common, but it's not something that the body should be doing that's normal or ideal, and a pelvic floor physical therapist can help with that.
Wow. So how does that vary from the support given during prenatal or pregnancy to postpartum? What would be the difference in the services there?
Yeah, so it all just depends on how, the person is presenting. So if you're coming in during pregnancy and you're having a lot of pregnancy related pains, maybe some, pelvic pain, maybe even pain with sex, low back pain or round ligament pain, things like that. A lot is changing and transforming throughout pregnancy. So we're helping to address those things, giving you some tools, maybe some equipment or devices to help support your body throughout those transformations. We do a lot of work pelvic floor, making sure that the muscles aren't too tight in the pelvic floor region. We get a lot of messaging in society like, get it tight, get it right. And I was like, no, no. You
No.
Yes, strong, yes, tight, not so much. Okay, there's a difference there. And then, teaching you how to properly, relax the pelvic floor muscles. If you're planning for a vaginal birth, you want to be able to relax those muscles and properly push so you're not risking tearing and hemorrhoids and, you know, um, too much of like just pressure in the abdomen, worsening any kind of like diastasis recti, the whole, like everything is involved. It's the whole body. And so it's called pelvic health, but I like to really say that for me personally, I look at the whole body, how you're functioning, throughout your entire life. And like this midsection here kind of impacts a lot of things.
Absolutely. So that's,
Yeah.
and you touched on it, like that whole core situation. So is there, because I had my last child was 7 years ago, but could I still benefit from the postpartum support that's
Yes,
given? Okay, so there's not a
absolutely.
time frame on.
No, there's no timeline. I always say postpartum is forever. So
Right.
even if your last child was 50 years old, 60 years old, you could still benefit from pelvic floor physical therapy, postpartum recovery, whatever it is that you're dealing with. You could definitely still. The earlier, the better, of course,
Right.
but there is no time. There's no time like deadline. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, no, it's too late for you. Sorry.
That is definitely good to know. So, as far as you mentioned that your services are virtual, is this something that you made the adjustment with the pandemic, or has that kind of how your operations have been set up? And has there been any difference in how you're functioning with all the changes that are going on with the protocol and who can be in the hospital and how many people and all of those things?
Yeah, so I finished my certification right at the height of COVID. So April 2020 is when I finished, and I was like, oh, here we are. So, just right away started doing virtual support, and it actually really works out for our family situation because our son, he's 3, he's still fairly young. Support, from family and things like that, everyone's working. So, we don't really have someone to come and be with him if I needed to be at a birth overnight and get him to, school and things like that. So, it actually has worked out pretty good for the family. So at this point, I'm keeping the virtual services. We can see how things look, as COVID clears up and things are a little bit loosened up and as he gets older. But for right now, the virtual seems to work out. But for physical therapy, I do offer in-person services.
Mhm. So, and just to give people kind of just a visual as far as what the services look like in the virtual setting, from the doula perspective,
Mhm.
how what are the ways in which how does the support look? What are some of the things that you're offering, and what might be slightly different? Because again, you can put on your physical therapy hat in your support process.
Yeah. So for my doula clients, depending on, which package that they're going with, I do either 3 or 4 virtual prenatal sessions, so, like, through a Zoom call, go over a lot of information. My goal is really to sometimes it feels even overwhelming for me after a session, but they're all recorded, so I was like, "You can just go back and listen to it. You got access to the slides, so you have access to all the information," but really focusing on helping the birthing person as well as their partner be as informed as possible, again, so that they can be the ones that's making the choices the whole way through, not even just in the birth room, but in their OB or midwife prenatal visits and things like that, how they're wanting things to look for their family, the choices that they're wanting to make postpartum as well. So a lot of education. I really value education and just having the information and the resources available. And then just like personal communication, like I ask my clients to check, let me know how their visits have gone with their providers, checking in once a week if they're wanting to, just to see how things are going. I incorporate a lot of acupressure into my services, both doula and physical therapy. And I offer workshops as well, virtual workshops as well, to kind of help guide families, even if you're not wanting or being able to work with me fully as a doula. At least now you've still got a tool to utilize to help have the best birth experience possible.
Right, right. So is it typically both the partner as well as the birthing person? So are they able to do some of the techniques like the acupressure and things like that when they're
Yes.
laboring? And okay, so that's awesome to be able to have that interaction.
Yeah,
Wow.
and the partners really love it because it gives them something very specific to do.
Yeah,
It's like, and some of my clients, the partner is the one that I'm communicating with throughout labor, and they're like, "Okay, this isn't happening." I'm like, "Okay, well, this is what we're gonna do. I need you to get her into this position and push on this spot." Okay, and so and I send pictures, and sometimes it's even like a little mini video, so it's a lot of, I mean, using technology basically to our advantage. And so most times, the partner is a guy, they're very visual and they want just something, tell me exactly what to
yeah.
do. And I could do that thing. And so they actually do really, really well.
Oh, that's excellent. I love that. So if there's somebody listening and they're considering, they have in their plan that they want to, become a parent soon, what are some of the things that you would recommend kind of beforehand when you're just in the planning process, or it's a desire that you're not necessarily actively in this moment working towards, but what are some of the preparation things that people can do to basically prepare themselves or put them in the best position possible coming into this experience?
Yeah, I would say for number one, and this is for anybody, whether you're planning to, become a parent, be pregnant or anything, go ahead and, schedule your pelvic floor physical therapy session. Even if you're not having any pain or not having any issues, at least you'll know your baseline.
Mm,
Because a lot of folks I get in postpartum, maybe they've had like a pelvic organ prolapse, they're experiencing prolapse. And I was like, well, do you think the pregnancy did this? Was it labor or birth? I was like, maybe, but maybe this was here beforehand, And so there's no way to know if no one's ever checked, if you never got it checked. So just knowing your baseline, if everything is perfect and you're good to go, wonderful. If not, now you got some things to work on. You're on your way to healing, and then it could be even that much more of a better experience. Going in knowing that, you're fully ready, learning some tips and tricks and techniques to keep your body healthy and strong.
mm, yeah, no, that's definitely beneficial. Like know your baseline. And again, I'm being enlightened because who knew that there's like a pelvic floor kind of exam that you could do beforehand.
Yeah,
So there's just a wealth of information that you're sharing, and we don't know what we don't know. And
yeah.
that's why I definitely feel like these conversations are so impactful because we don't know the resources available to us.
Mhm.
We don't know what fully makes up, the ideal birthing team, just all of the support that's there. So this conversation has been amazing for me.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Has there been an experience doing this work that kind of epitomizes why, you're so passionate about it and what kind of pushes you to keep going?
Ooh, that's a deep question. You made me think back. Well, I guess it's just, because I people come in postpartum again, and a lot of times it ends up, it's a PT therapy session, but sometimes it's like a mental therapy session as well. It's like
Connected.
each of our sessions are an hour long, one-on-one in a closed room, very supportive, private and intimate. And so a lot of times people are sharing their stories, and a lot of times people cry in sessions with me, not because they're in pain or anything, but just because it's like, finally someone's listening. Finally someone gets it. I'm not just being, run around and medication after medication, but finally addressing the issues, and they're feeling empowered. And it's those patients that come in and just like, and maybe outside of COVID, we would give each other a nice big hug, but little air hugs, and just like, this is it. Because it's like there can be so much pain, but there can also be so much beauty, and just really helping people, go through, come on out on the other side so much stronger, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. And even some people that I see, we've had one of my last clients, she was coming in for pelvic therapy before getting pregnant. She was having a lot of pain with sex, worked with one of our therapists there, was able to get pregnant. She was coming in throughout the pregnancy. And then I was also her doula for the birth. And I was like, I can't wait for you to come back postpartum, like the whole way through. And it's just like so beautiful seeing the progress that they could make. Yeah. And just imagine, like, if we didn't do this service, like, a lot of this wouldn't be able to be happening, or as, positive as it is.
No, absolutely. And again, it's just, we don't know what we don't know. And then when you put the pieces together like that, that is amazing. And it is such an intimate experience, right? Like you're saying, you're having these conversations, and you're opening up, and you're also supporting during the birth. Like, I feel like anybody who's a part of my birth team is family for life. Like, like we've been through it together.
Yeah.
So that is just, it's an amazing place to be able to see the progression and to, support them throughout. So I find it phenomenal what it is that you have put together. I personally haven't seen that combination, but it comes together so well. And now I hope that this has been enlightening to the audience, just as far as that this service is out here, and that it is definitely something to take advantage of. And again, like you said, whether you're a birthing person or not, like, this is something you should know about your body, and just that bit of information can impact how your body feels and how you're, operating in the world. So that is amazing. Time flies so quickly, so I just want to make sure that we definitely get in the services that you offer and how people can get in touch with you. If there's classes, if there's anything else outside of what we spoke about, please get that information in, as well as the book.
Okay, yes. So actually, not next Friday, this Friday, I'm hosting my next acupressure for labor progress workshop. It's a virtual workshop, and so we'll go over a protocol for helping to progress labor along and addressing like OP baby positioning. And so that is going on. If it's a Friday evening. If you're not able to make it to the live workshop, I do have an on-demand access available as well. So if you're gonna be going to labor tonight or tomorrow, you can still you can still benefit from it. Go ahead and get the on-demand access, watch it, practice it, and have your partner practice it as well. And so that you'll have some tools on hand. I will be doing it again in December, so if anyone still wants to get with that as well. But other services that I do, so for doula, I offer like a birth support only option for people that are like really late in the game, or just finding out about what a doula is and does want someone to support them, or for families that, they've gone through the process a couple times, but still want someone kind of like guiding them through, someone in their back pocket. So I've got that, also monthly support, and then my big doula packages as well. Also offer just like one-off acupressure sessions. So you can do a one-on-one call really quick for different indications like headaches and morning sickness and reflux and back pain, sciatica. Like, all of them are all listed on my website, which is www.chperinatal.com. And on Instagram and Facebook, it's at chperinatal. And then also I have like learning sessions. So we go over a lot of things we go over in the big doula packages, but kind of broken up. So if you don't want to the full doula package, you can still get the educational piece. So we go over birth options, newborn procedures, making your birth plan, getting your village together, like a whole host of different topics. And we can just do, there's just one topic you want a refresher on, you're just like, I just need this information, that's available too as well.
Amazing. That is excellent. And I will definitely make sure that we have all of your links included in the description and in the comment section so people can reach out to you directly. And also, if you could just plug the book one more time. I know.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yes. So the book is called Infertility: Secrets, Struggles, and Successes. And it's a multi-author book, a combination of professional and personal insights about the world of infertility. So I share my personal story about how my loss of our first son inspired and led me onto the journey that am on now, supporting individuals and families throughout the childbearing seasons.
Oh, that is amazing. So yes, we will have all of those links available to you. You can also check it out on YouTube for the replay as well as on Facebook. So I greatly appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. I'm thankful that you accepted the invitation. This was amazing. I definitely want to keep in touch, keep this conversation going. We can't talk
Absolutely.
about this too much. So please, if you found value in this, share, share, share. Yes, and reach out, check out the website, get the book. Let's just stay connected. Let's just keep this dialogue going. It's all about healing, it's all about growth. And thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. I had fun.
Peace and blessings, everyone.